So I'm Owen.
Hello, and I'm Suzana.
And this is our third little podcast commentary adventure into watching our videos back and talking about them.
Yeah.
I think last time I mentioned that I was really excited for the scene we're just beginning just now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't forget, but I kind of forgot that we have a small tangent before I get to the part I was really excited about.
A little bit of the build-up.
Yeah, which I'm also excited about. This is a very self-indulgent project. I don't really do anything that I'm not really excited about.
It's true.
At the end of the day, but we have a little bit to go before that. Wow, did I write this this specific scene 9 years ago scenario that I was talking about? But this one I think will be fun too.
Yeah.
We have
sure.
Matt returning.
Yeah.
Character I always love to get to explore.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He doesn't get to come in as much as I want.
I know it. I really wish. But he's here now, so he'll be fun. He's a lot of fun to color.
Yeah.
He's just a very gorgeous, and he's also one of the characters that we talked a little bit last time too about picking palettes for new characters and how his palette was picked very recently. He appeared in chapter 7, I want to say, for the first time. Is that right? Yeah, I think chapter 7. But that was probably at the very beginning stages of me doing color at all.
Mm-hmm.
We had just transitioned out of the blue tones at the beginning of chapter 5.
Yeah.
So
there's a few years of difference too between those chapters.
Each chapter takes us like a good year and a half, sometimes. Well,
yeah.
Maybe, probably a year and a half.
Yeah,
so,
especially with those pages, I think they were 50 pages. Those chapters were 50 pages each.
They were pretty long. When we first started making the comic, we really pushed for, each chapter should be 25 pages. You know what I mean?
Just so exact.
Just such a strange standard to hold ourselves to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was so arbitrary. But so I think chapter 5 when I was kind of like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
So I'll just make it as long as I want. So then I think I got to like 50 pages for chapter 5, and then I was like, but maybe I should still hold myself to it being
a standard number,
like a very specific number, like maybe 2 25s.
Yeah.
Like, make it 50 pages. And it was very weird. I gave that up after a while, but yeah, those first color chapters were like 50 pages, I would say. So Matt came pretty quickly after, not really chronologically quickly. It was probably a good maybe 2 or 3 years at that point.
Yeah, he was designed finally and like set down in chapter 7 along with Hebert, who also got the benefit of having our new color selection.
That's true, yeah. But I will say that still I was very new to coloring at the time. Obviously I had done blue tones to avoid coloring in the first place. Yeah. So it was something I'd been so avoidant of for so long, and then finally when I committed to it, it still was, I was very new to it and very unskilled. So
yeah.
Matt's like color palette, the colors he appears in on this page are very updated compared to his first appearance, and I don't know, I really like them.
Yeah, he ends up having like a really nice warm tone. Yeah,
he's very like rich, like that kind of tannish blonde I really like.
Yeah.
So he's a joy to color. He's just a joy to have and to write for.
He's kind of got broad shoulders, so he gets to be a lot of fun to draw on these like suit coats too. Because Liam's so square shouldered, like small. Yeah.
And he's very sarcastic, which is a joy for me. So that's Matt. So I have a question for you. I was asked this question a couple days ago, and I posed it to you at the time and then told you to think about it. Yeah. And I'm excited to hear your answer because I didn't want to know it until now. The question is, so let me phrase it this way. If you have something that you draw a lot for the comic, that comes up in the comic a lot, but you don't like, that's not a question. I didn't ask that as a question. Is there something in the comic that you have to draw a lot and hate to draw?
Well, it actually took me a couple of days to really come up with a good way to answer this one.
Sure.
I finally arrived at rigid, solid objects.
So, what do you mean?
Plates, bowls, cups.
Oh my god.
Things that require me to think in a spatial thing, and I can't like soften it. Like furniture, I can kind of soften an angle because it's soft material.
Yeah.
Books are kind of like soft in their own way because like the pages bend, so they're not necessarily a rigid object.
Oh.
But like plates are really miserable because they're round. So I have to put it onto a plane of existence, and then I have to round it.
Okay.
So I hate drawing plates, and they always end up coming out looking a little organic to me because I still am operating with an organic brain, thinking in organic manners.
Sure.
So very often when I draw a plate, I'm usually not satisfied with it, especially when it's on a plane.
It looks like an animal that is plate shaped.
Yeah. Like it's just like been some clay kind of pushed down into a plate shape, and it's like, oh, you tried.
That's really funny that you say that. Mm-hmm. Because I draw the mini comics between chapters. I don't draw a lot for the comic itself, by design, on purpose. And I, as a result, like I do draw sometimes, I sketch, sometimes outside of comics or whatever, but not much, and not as much as I used to. But anytime I've had to draw a plate for the mini comics, it's disastrous.
They're the worst.
And I didn't really think about that until this moment.
That's literally my least favorite thing to draw. I would rather draw a car.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's me saying, like, I still don't like drawing cars because, like, it's like, with a car, you can always
Do you really not like drawing cars?
Well, to an extent, because it's just, like, it'll never look 100% accurate unless you, like, try to trace one.
Sure.
But even then, someone's gonna always, like, notice something that looks off about it.
Sure.
Like, and it's just like, oh well. It's like, even in my own brain, it's just like, I'll look at it later and be like, oh, like, there's a mirror there that I just completely
Because there's so many moving parts and details.
Yeah, there's so many details that are kind of important to the chemical makeup of a car.
The chemical makeup. Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I do know what you mean.
It's just like, so, like, you'll get that a lot with, like, a lot of vehicles, because it's like, there's a lot of moving parts with a vehicle.
That makes sense.
And it's just like, you don't think about all the wires and the mechanics on it. You just want to draw the basic part that, to you, as the person who would usually just sit into a car or get into a train or get into a plane, you think of the parts that you observe.
Sure.
And so it's like, you can go to a reference of it, but you're still going to probably miss entire things that, to you, not being, like, particularly a car person or a vehicle person, wouldn't notice.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't like that aspect.
Okay. So do you don't mind cars otherwise?
I don't mind cards otherwise. They're a little bit easier than like a plate.
A plate?
Yeah.
You really hate plates.
Oh, they're so annoying.
Yeah.
Like there's parts of a car that can be kind of annoying. Like when you get to like the wheels and it's like, oh, now you have to worry about a wheel into a plane.
That's like a rigid shape. I guess cars are made up of many rigid shapes that fail if they look too organic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like at least the seats are kind of soft, so you can kind of get away with them having like a soft edge.
So yeah, you can have like some kind of like buckling as you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're saying.
But like when you get to like a hard chair, like so think of like a plastic chair.
So you don't like chairs? Oh, plastic. So the ones that like curve more.
The plastic ones, or like the ones that have like that leather, but they're like curved into a shape. Because like with like Clip Studio, I have like the benefits of using perspective lines, which you can actually see on this panel.
Oh yeah,
right
what
now.
you're doing right now. Yeah.
It lets me just draw to these perspective lines
to a flat line.
Yeah.
Like, as if drawing with a ruler.
Yeah. So it makes it very quick. It's so much faster than when I used to put a ruler on my Cintiq and draw with that.
Are we right now observing a rigid object that you one of the things that you hate?
But you see how softened it is?
Sure.
It ends up looking a little organic because
it does look. It almost looks like homemade.
Yeah.
Handmade.
Every single rigid small object that I end up making like that looks like a handmade clay thing. Like
sure.
Someone's niece made it for them and put it into the office. But it's like at some point you kind of have to accept that that's gonna just be it.
That is just it for you.
And now I've just called myself out, so everyone's gonna notice the handmade clay objects. And
so am I too when I go to color it. So that's super funny.
But when you look at that and like you see with the table, I can draw it onto the perspectives.
Sure.
So a table's kind of fine for that. They're very easy.
And the plant itself works well because you like drawing the organic shapes. So like
Yeah.
the leaves themselves are kind of something that you enjoy drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
I've noticed you really like drawing plants in backgrounds a lot, like trees and bushes, grass. I've seen you actually have a great time doing full backgrounds with lots of like organic background elements. Yeah.
Usually, if I go outside and I'm like doing drawings from nature or anything like that, I usually am drawing the plants or trees.
That's true. I've definitely observed that about you.
Yeah, I enjoy drawing them the most. I'll kind of weekly put in benches or anything, but it's just like I don't prioritize them.
Sure.
And it's like I can do that. I just don't care to.
Yeah.
I like the organic material.
How do you feel about landscapes, like backgrounds and stuff that are more like building oriented? Like if you see like a cityscape that's specifically mostly I would say buildings, how do you feel about those?
I don't mind those because once again I can follow a lot of the perspective lines.
Sure.
There are rounded edges on them which can be
that you don't love.
They can be a little bit trickier to fit into the perspectives.
Sure.
So it's like especially in like a lot of these like old buildings that would have probably been built into like the late Victorian era.
Sure.
Some of them even older or newer, but they usually have these like rounded archways built into the sides of it.
I love those naturally, like normally, yeah.
Yeah, they're very pretty and they do add a lot of character to the shape of a building.
Sure.
So you do have to include them. You can't just have rigid lines on all the building. But sometimes they're very difficult to fit into the perspective. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I surprise myself with like how difficult it can be that I have to sit there and like once again I erase in and I just have to pull out chunks of it with the eraser and like make it actually work.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's the same thing with like I was saying with the chairs, when you get to like plastic chairs, they can't follow a perspective line because they don't no chair sits straight up and down because it's not comfortable for a human.
We're still talking about with plastic chairs, like I'm thinking of the ones that are like how do you describe that? They're like a bowl, right? Where like the back is like rounded and then the bottom is like
when they're
like
rounded
IKEA
around
sometimes.
your seat.
Yeah, I'd see. Yeah.
Or even just a basic chair that you would just have sitting in an office with like a leather backing. The back of it is tilted and angled.
Oh, that's right. So it's like slightly curved. Mm-hmm. So because it's like it's not comfortable to sit in a plane behind you that's like totally 90-degree angle to the seat. You always feel slightly more comfortable when your back is given a little give to lean back into. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you have to account for that. You can't just follow the perspective lines.
Oh, that's annoying.
So you have to put a little angle to it because that's just what a chair is.
Sure.
And if you do try to just follow like the straight up and down, you can get something that almost looks like back in like nursery school when they have those little tiny chairs that are
I think clearly when I say the plastic chairs that are the bowls, I think that's what I'm thinking of. The nursery,
when it's just like they're made uncomfortable and they just you look at them and it's just like they didn't even think about how comfortable that child would be sitting in that.
Well,
it's
I
just
think
like
children don't usually sit very long.
That's true.
So maybe they just go based on aesthetic for what matches your little nursery. But
it ends up looking like that. Or you get like when you have those like little miniaturized sets for like dolls or something. Yeah. They're always like that flat back because no one cares if the doll's comfortable. But like you can look at it and if you were to try to like zoom a camera in on it and try to make it look like a realistic scene, something would feel off to you.
You would definitely recognize that as you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So you can't really do that with something like these panels where you have to have seats.
Sure.
You have to have a little bit of an angle.
I know there's a it's becoming more popular to build your backgrounds in I don't want to say Blender. I want to say like programs like Unity.
Yeah.
In Blender to use it, like making your 3D models in Blender, importing them into Unity, and then building backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like let's say you have a let's say you take their apartment. They're in it a lot, right? You build their apartment in Unity. Mm-hmm. And then not necessarily to trace over, but to trace over to that. I think that's valid too, to do that too, because anything that saves you time when you're making 2 pages a week, 5 pages a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes people make, Webtoon I think requires people to make like 50 panels a week when they're in the paid program.
Yeah, something like that.
When you have tools that help you make your stuff faster, extremely valid, very valid. You know what I mean?
It's a good idea, and I would always say go for it.
Yeah, for sure. So it's becoming more popular to do that. I would love to learn that because I feel like that would be a great tool.
Yeah.
Even if you don't trace over it, and even if you do, I don't think it matters either way. But even if you don't, I feel like it would lend itself well to being able to like find those lines easier instead of having to like recreate them from scratch.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's something kind of fun about the idea of like recreating a room into a 3D space.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, like I usually like memorizing a lot of the rooms and spaces that they're in. Like I'll only go so far as to plan like a few rooms sometimes. Like in Eli's office here, I hadn't planned the waiting room in my head until I had to.
Sure, yeah.
But like I knew exactly what it would look like immediately because of how the rest of the building is actually made.
Oh, that still boggles my mind. I definitely don't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But if like I had to create it in Unity, I probably would have had it all completely made, and I would have made rooms that we don't even need to see just because that's just what I do.
Just because you enjoy doing that. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I do I don't know if I enjoy it as much as you do.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult for me, for my brain to think that way. But I do think it's inherently fun to build 2D spaces in 3D. Because there's just something so exciting about, I don't know, seeing a place that has only existed in your head before. Yeah. And then you just get to like move it around and be like, oh my goodness. You know what I mean? It's just really cool. I even feel the same way about like people who recreate 3D spaces of what would obviously be a 3D space, let's say on a television show, right? Yeah. Like, for instance, I've seen a lot of videos lately where people recreate the Office, right? And they make the Office, and they put it in maybe like a Gmod map or something like that. And I don't think this is a new practice. I've just been seeing it a lot lately. And then it's like you walk around it and it's like, that is 3D when you watch it on TV. It's not like necessarily a 2D. It's not animated or anything. You can see the 3D-ness of it. Yeah. But there's something, I mean, I guess for me specifically, who doesn't think, I don't easily spatially conceive of a 3D space in my mind only. So even though I do see, let's say, Michael's office, like from a certain direction a lot, sometimes it's difficult for me to connect that part of the room with where it is across from reception, or where the front door is, when, you know what I mean. And so when I see those maps, or if I get a chance to play with them myself, it's so like, oh my god, that's the way it goes together. Oh my god, so you come, and Michael's office is on the left. That's okay, I didn't realize that. You know what I mean? And that's just like the babyest version of the realizations of it. But there's something inherently really exciting about doing it with, I don't know, something like Eli's office, and you get to like, oh my god, like this is where Liam sat in that one scene. You know what I mean? It's just, for me, it's super exciting to see like a recreation in that way. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think what makes it especially interesting is that usually when you're looking at a room through a medium like that, and even this would include in something like The Office,
so for TV specifically,
TV, right, or even in the comic, there are set places where cameras are going.
Sure.
So like in the case of the comic, there are set places in the room where I, in drawing it, set a camera.
Sure.
And it's the same way with a TV show. There are set places in a TV show where a camera is.
Which is why, to use The Office as an example, they filmed the first season. This is just me talking about The Office. They filmed the first season in an actual office building. Yeah. And then once they had the budget to recreate it, they immediately did, because to get a more successful angle, and sometimes they have to go through where the ceiling would be. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, we need this to not have a ceiling. Or at least, if we do have a ceiling, it needs to be able to come apart. So that the camera can just angle itself through this, because it is extremely difficult. You do sometimes have to put the camera places where a wall usually would be, or the ceiling, or where a desk, you could be able to move a desk more easily. Anyway, enough about The Office. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that is a great point for that too. A lot of TV shows do have to account for that.
Sure.
But you also end up doing it yourself naturally when you start creating rooms like this too. So it's like, there's something different about when you go into a 3D space and you can actively move through the space. It's not like in The Office, again, using it as a reference, you'll sometimes see the camera runs through a room. Sure. But it's a different feeling than if you were to allow the camera to walk through the room and be able to look around and see where things are in relation to the camera. Right. They can't really do that because it would make you motion sick. Sure. And to be honest, a lot of video games make me motion sick in that exact way. Yeah, that's right. So like, it is a little bit nicer to be able to walk through those rooms, but it does take a little bit more brain effort, I suppose. Sure, yeah. To really like be able to process where you are in the 3D space.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to play with stuff like that. I'd love to play with like making 3D recreations, whether to help with the process. Again, I'm always super motivated to find ways to like speed the process up, whether to help with the process or even just for fun. I'd really like to play with that. Yeah.
I think it would be really fun. I would like to be able to go through the rooms, and honestly, it would probably help me to be able to flesh out parts that are a little more difficult for me to fill in.
Sure.
I can't think of any examples right now, but
sure.
Usually, like when it comes to like decorations, it'd be a little bit easier to have a decoration kind of set in stone. So
like these paintings and stuff you're talking about. I don't think there's like a little bit of one currently visible on the screen. Yeah. So like little things like that, like My Lone Liam's flat has the entire living room designed with an increasing amount of decorations.
Yes, and that is all Milo's fault.
Yeah, every time we see that space, it's got like more stuff in it, and I love the idea of like Milo every time he goes out buys another little kitschy thing, to put up on his shelf. Yeah.
Here, this one also has a sun on it.
This one reminds me of you as the sunshine.
You are my sunshine.
I do love that. So yeah.
He likes flowers and he likes sun things.
Sunshine,
he always links it to Liam.
Sure.
It's like a little subtle thing with him for that.
Yeah. I can definitely see how having like a 3D recreation of that space with its increasing little tchotchkes would be super helpful.
For sure.
To redraw it multiple times, for sure. Yeah. I would love to.
Yeah. Fun.
And yet again, I mean, I always think of this. It's not necessarily like it shouldn't stop me, but I do always think about it in terms of like, well, we are halfway through chapter 19.
Yeah.
Why do it
so
now?
Close. Yeah.
Why do it now?
Well, it'd be fun.
That's true.
You could go through the space, and like if someone else even wanted to look at the space, they could also look at it. And
That's true.
It'd be a little bit easier where it's like, I could go through and try to draw each part of the space, but it would be easier to show people what they would want to even see in a space if they could just like look at it with
that's true. Yeah, that is true.
So it's like I could hand it to you and be like, oh, in that space now you can see what's over there. So if you wanted Liam to interact with something, now you know what's in the corner for him to interact with.
So I would then it would be a tool for me to use in order to make more thoughtful thumbnails.
Yeah.
Instead of just doing whatever I want and then handing it to you and saying, make this work.
Just find him something to do over here. And then it's just
I didn't ask
go through the corner.
I didn't ask for reasons to be more thoughtful about the way that I do.
Well, it's kind of fun to also surprise you too.
That's true. No, you know what? I really enjoy that aspect.
Yeah.
Of the way that we do thumbnails. I really enjoy that I've posted occasionally what my thumbnails look like. We have a Discord that I occasionally will link images especially when people are curious. My thumbnails usually resemble stick figures might be too generous of a word to use. It's I would say that they're usually like the barest minimum expression to convey the facial expression that I'm looking for, right? And then maybe like some indication of like how small the person is in the frame, right? In the panel. And then sometimes I'll put a note that says like, I don't know, he's like reaching his arm out or something, grabbing something, or sitting down and he's kind of like, I think the in the fourth panel here I have a note that's like he's sitting but he's like sighing about it. He's like slumping as he sits.
I think you wrote slump. And it's like kind of at an angle, so I can see that it's like the room's a little bit.
Yeah, meant to be a little bit at an angle, and it's a lot of like this page is the first of its scene, so it has to be kind of background heavy to establish where he is, what he's doing, and also it's kind of a quiet page. So what is there to do except interact with the scenery? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the scenery is a character in this moment.
Yeah, for sure. So but I would say my thumbnail for this was definitely super sparse. So there is definitely a huge amount of pleasure for me in not defining it more than that. One, I will say there's pleasure in it because I'm surprised, right? Because it's like, oh, I love what you did with that. That's really cool. Because I usually don't see the page until the base sketch is done. Yeah. Even when we do record and I like have it up and everything, it's such a quick process that I usually don't see it until it's done. And then it's like, oh, I love the angle you put the room at for this, or I love that overhead. I hadn't even been envisioning that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Or or you'll do something with the background that totally catches me off guard. So the surprise aspect is very fun.
Yeah.
But also you're better at it than I am. So
at least you can lay it out at the start, because I always struggle with that.
There is a laziness to it where it's like, I know that if I give you a very sparse stick figure and I just write, like, you can see the room here, right? That what comes out from you doing it yourself and me not helping, despite me partially being motivated by laziness, I know it'll look better if you do it, so I just let it happen.
Yeah, I think, like, sticking to the bare minimum of what you need to get across helps me to be able to, like, know what you're doing with the story in this particular page, and then from there I can just extrapolate and add plants in the room. And, like, change the angle. Oh, he's peeking through a window a little bit because I know there's a window here for him to see through. Right,
and if he's literally, the dialogue calls for, he's with a client, you know what I mean? Then you know he probably needs to be looking at a window. Exactly. Yeah.
Or trying the door or something, which originally when I sketched it, I figured he would be trying the door, and then I realized, like, oh, actually, there's a window on there. I should just have him
use that. Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, what do you naturally go to? You
glance.
Usually go to, like,
glance.
I can kind of see there's a person in there. That's why the shades are down.
Yeah. I guess when I thumbnailed it, I envisioned, like, maybe you could put, like, a sign or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that'd be super realistic or necessary. I think you can just...
I think be like a therapy office where it's like the client
client in session or something, but it's not that kind of client. Yeah. It's, I think what you ended up with is definitely visually perfect.
Oh, I'm glad.
But it has nothing to do with what I put on the page. So.
Yeah, I think literally it's just Liam reacting and saying, like, oh, he has someone.
Oh, yeah, there's somebody in there. I can't go in right now.
Like, it's just like
whoops.
Yeah.
Whoopsie daisy. Yeah. So I also thought about my question. Things that I hate coloring.
Yeah,
right?
I do want to hear this.
Because the list of things I hate drawing is long.
Oh no.
It's really long, and I don't do it much.
Yeah.
So when I'm out of practice, it's even longer. Things that I usually love drawing, I start to hate when I'm
same.
out of practice. Yeah. So I mean, I could say I also plates. Now that you've said that, rigid objects, vases, cups, glasses, stuff like that. Yeah. Definitely way up there. I don't really ever feel like I do a good job.
Yeah.
When I draw them, I always do, and I think I feel even more strongly than you do that they end up looking like maybe like a first grader's school project vase that's like for Mother's Day or something. That's what my art always looks like when I draw non-organic rigid objects. And then so down the list, everything. I don't like backgrounds. I don't like just the typical list of, I would say, things that people, when they don't have when they're not constantly practicing them, give them strife and stress. But in terms of things that I don't like coloring, right now I color. Hi, Squally. I color a lot more often. So when I say this, usually I mean the comic, right? Yes, honey. Things that I hate coloring are short hair.
Oh, yeah.
I really hate coloring short hair.
Oh,
that's
interesting.
Love coloring long hair.
Yeah.
I love coloring Milo's hair.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my favorite things to color in the entire. So I don't. He's been. The chapters lately have had them like kind of splitting up and going separately for a little bit. So the scenes where he's not in, I'm always like, why did I make this scene? Especially when I'm at the coloring stage.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I write this? Because Milo's not in it, but somebody with short hair is, and I don't want to. Why aren't I coloring Milo instead?
Oh no.
I really, especially as his hair gets longer, I love coloring it. It's so good. But the short hair, so probably the characters whose hair I hate coloring the most is Hebert.
Oh, yeah.
Despite loving his palette.
Yeah. It's
like a very orangey.
He has kind of longish hair, too. It's like medium.
Yes, I guess I don't... so shorter than him would be even harder.
Yeah, like getting to Matt's hair.
So Matt's hair is short, but it's weird shapes. It's like very Phoenix Wright. You know what I mean?
It's like he takes hair gel and just goes for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really necessarily mean him. His being weird shapes is fun.
Yeah.
Because I know kind of the shading of it makes sense to me. Because it's like, I know how to shade a spike, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know whose hair would be shorter.
Dylan's hair is really short.
Dylan's hair doesn't bother me either, actually.
Yeah, Eli's hair is also short.
Does Eli's? No, I don't mind Eli's hair.
It's the curls that make the difference.
The curls make it, because I know how to follow the shade, the shadow of a curl.
So that makes sense.
And Eli's hair is fun because it has, he's going gray at the temples. And
so he has texture.
All his roots are gray now. Yeah. So he has colored texture in the back of his neck and at his temples and at his, anywhere where you can see color kind of peeking through.
Getting that late gray.
Yeah, for sure. It's really fun. I really, really like coloring Eli's hair for that. I like I like coloring Kat's hair the same way because she's dyed hair pink. Now, I almost called her blonde because she used to be blonde. But her hair is dyed pink now, but she's a redhead naturally. Yeah. So she always has her roots peeking through. Kind of like she took too long to get her hair redone or whatever.
Yeah. And who has time and money for that?
Exactly, yeah. So I really enjoy coloring her hair in the same way that I like Eli's.
Yeah. I always really liked that about her design was specifically she always has a few weeks of growth.
Yeah, I really like it. It's one of my favorite things to color, especially because it's a length also that I appreciate. I like coloring long hair.
Yeah.
I guess Hebert, let's say like Hebert, his hair, and I realize now I'm saying his name out loud. And it sure is not a name, but I love it. Don't worry about it.
It is pronounced Hebert.
It is pronounced Hebert. It is a reference to a chocolate factory, a chocolate company in Massachusetts.
And trust me, I also winced the first time I heard it said out loud.
That's literally the only... You corrected me at the time. You said Herbert. And I was like, no, Hebert. And you said, that's not a name. And I said... Oh, I was thinking of the chocolate factory. Well, now since you corrected me, it is Hebert, and that's what it is. And I loved that you hated it. It was so much fun.
And you, as his mother, also decided that you were going to go for it. And now I'd like to imagine that his father probably fought it tooth and nail too.
Yeah, and she just loves chocolate, so she named him after Hebert's chocolate.
God.
It's so silly. I really like it. It makes me laugh. And
I love him now, so.
I really enjoy it now. And I mean, it's just the thing with names. Like, as soon as you just name someone something, it is a name.
It just sticks. Yeah. And sometimes it's like that with a pet, too, where it's just like, you start calling them something, and now your cat's known as Kitty.
Yeah, exactly. So I love it. I really like it a lot. So it's very silly, but I like it. So anyway, Hebert. So was it? Yeah. So his hair is like that perfect length that really confuses me.
Yeah.
For coloring, which is like it's long enough that that I can't just like sweep a shade in and call it a day. Like I know it can't just be like, oh, you shade right under the crown of his hair.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you can kind of chip into it a little bit for a little bit of texture. For his, it's like it's just long and floppy enough that I know it must cast a shadow.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it is. I don't know where the shadow goes.
Yeah, he has kind of a I don't even know what you would call that kind of haircut.
It's like
it's almost like an undercut where it's just like it's longer on top and it kind of falls and then the sides are kind of cut up short.
It's very like I don't know if it's accurate to call it like prep schooly, like very preppy, but
it was meant to be that kind of feeling for him.
Very preppy.
It's just because he has very straight hair and it's very thin.
Right.
So it would just fall like that, and probably it's the only way that he could really cut it without it like being too thin or like falling weirdly for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a little difficult. Sometimes to find the shadow on it is a little difficult. And when Liam's hair was the same length, when after he'd cut like kind of an undercut, and he was growing it out, when it got to the same length as Hebert's, hated coloring Liam's hair, hated it.
Yeah.
And he's the character that appears the most.
Yeah.
So every single panel, I hate it. I was like, why is this story about this guy? I hate it. I really hate him. No, I hated him for like long. Now it's getting longer, so it's okay. And sometimes it's curly, like it is on this page, and I love shading curls, so it's okay.
Well, to be fair, he also hated the short hair, so...
That's true. Yes.
I think that adds to the feeling of it, too.
Yes, for sure.
It's just like when the character doesn't like it, you kind of also feel sympathetic for them.
Well, I don't know. I will I will say that the way that Liam prefers to keep his hair is not necessarily how I prefer to keep his hair, right?
Yeah.
He has he just, like, by product of his personality has, like, a vision for himself how he wants to look.
Yeah.
You know, how he wants to, like, present to the world. He wants, like, long straight hair. He wants to look kind of like punk rock. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to look, like, cool, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's very posh, but
he looks posh, but he wants to be
he
hardcore.
wants to be like this kind of, like, maybe he's a little edgy, and maybe he's, like, really creative, and, like, he's an introvert, so don't talk to him, because he might be, like, thinking in his head about the stuff he's doing with, like, his writing or whatever. So don't approach him, but maybe from a distance you think he's kind of cool, but he's not. He's a nerd.
He's
like,
totally nerd.
But that's, like, how he in his head wants to look, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely, like, hairstyles he's gone through that
that
I prefer on him. Like, I really like him with this, like, kind of, it's not short, but this, like, medium length curly mop of hair. I really like that. I think it's really cute.
Yeah, I think it suits him pretty well, but I mean, it doesn't suit him to himself. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really more for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What matters to him. But let's see. I really liked the length his hair got to right before he cut it.
Oh, yeah. When it was, like, just down to his shoulders and it would, like, hang kind of flat.
Yeah, I liked that. I'll like it if it gets slightly longer than that. I'll like that, too. I did not like it short at all.
Yeah.
But I liked it for the story.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I can't wait till it gets down to his kneecaps.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
That's the goal, actually. Next chapter, I think.
Yeah. I think that's normal hair growth. How many years in the future is
3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think it's 3. I don't even remember if it's 3 weeks.
I can't remember offhand either.
He wears a wig.
Yeah. You know, that would be nice. Look good.
Yeah.
It's like we'll never address it until like the last page. He just slowly takes off the wig.
Off, and we still don't address it.
Just still don't address it. It's just he does it in the background.
It's just in the part of the.
Just slowly sets it down on JoJo's bed and curls it around him.
Ew. I really don't like that.
JoJo.
I hate that. I hate that. I really. That makes me viscerally uncomfortable.
How do you think JoJo feels?
Yeah.
That poor cat.
I really don't like that at all. I don't like that you just said that to me.
So next chapter, big plans.
Oh
for
my
Liam's
god!
hair.
And that's the whole chapter.
That's actually what we're excited for. That's what we've been excited for, is for Liam to finally get the wig that he's gonna put on JoJo.
That's so weird.
Yeah, this is getting weird. I'm sorry.
Let's quit toy. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, we quit toy over the wig dilemma.
That's it. That's too much.
I'm sorry. I brought it too far. I went too far once I brought up the wig, and wait, no, you brought up the wig.
Self-sabotage.
You self-sabotage, and then I just took the wig too far. Ruinous.
Damn. Oh, that's too funny. So that's what I hate coloring.
Yeah.
I would love to color a really long wig. Anyway, that's what I hate coloring. I would say medium length hair.
Yeah.
And straight hair. Medium length straight hair is kind of difficult for me.
Okay. So Roger's hair would be kind of bad because it was like a little bit.
I did not like Roger's hair.
Yeah.
I did not care for drawing his hair. I think
I can see that.
If I remember, not drawing, coloring. I feel like I vaguely remember he also has some color differential in that he's grayer in some spots.
Yeah.
But it still is less appealing for me to color than Eli's, because it's not just about the textural coloring. It's also about it's mostly for me just finding the shadow.
Yeah.
If it's difficult for me to find the shadow, I struggle with it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of the shorter hairstyles are kind of difficult for that. And I guess, like, I don't know, you could always, like, study photos, but, like, even then, lighting changes so much and so drastically in so many photographs that you could use for reference that it's like, as long as it looks right to you, I think that's going to be more important.
There's something kind of about hair that works in a comic that the real world equivalent would maybe not even necessarily exist.
Yeah.
It would be difficult to find it.
Yeah.
And then also kind of like, even if I did find it, maybe it wouldn't match in a way that made sense for the art version of it.
Yeah.
But I do agree that I'm always down to do more studies.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I always need that. That's always helpful for me. So.
I mean, same. That's usually helps a lot, but there's always a little bit of room where you have to kind of change it back to a little cartoony in order for it to still look good in art.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I dislike coloring.
Yeah.
Is there anything organic that's on your list of things? Because I know you say you like kind of drawing more organic stuff. Anything organic that you don't like?
Oh, that I don't like. I can't think of anything particularly offhand. Sure. I think for a lot of organic things, like there's like kind of difficult shapes, like getting like the muzzle of an animal just right. Because it's just like
a JoJo.
Yeah, when you go to doodle a cat or dog, you can get like a vague shape of one correct pretty well.
Sure.
But then when it gets down to it, it's just like, oh, their noses are very different. So if you're drawing a kind of close up, you have to remember that a dog's nose looks very different from a cat's nose.
Sure.
But that's only also if you're doing a semi-realistic style, which I kind of lean towards semi-realism.
Sure.
I can't get away with just like a round shape at the end of a dog's muzzle, because then it just would look very off for the rest of it. But like Matt's dog.
That's what I was going to ask you. How did you like drawing Matt's dog?
So she's actually really cute. She ends up being she's a little golden retriever.
Sure.
Probably mutt, honestly.
Yeah.
Just like that kind of mutt. But basically based on a golden retriever.
Sure.
So she's pretty fun to draw because she has a lot of fluff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I love drawing fluff.
That's fair.
Because that's what I like about drawing JoJo too. Is that he's also
a long hair cat.
fluffy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He looks our cat when we got him long after we even had JoJo already existent.
Sure.
But he grew up to look a lot like what JoJo actually was designed
by
to be.
complete chance, because when we showed up to pick Squally up, his name's Pasquale, by the way, he's Italian. When we showed up to pick him up, we were responding to like a Craigslist ad where it was like, just pay the rehoming fee, please just come get them. They're stray kittens or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't have a mom, so they were just rehoming them.
Yeah.
I think they said they were 8 weeks. He was clearly
I think
6.
he was closer, maybe 6.
Yeah,
but they told us he was 8, and it wasn't really until later that we realized like how
little
he was.
Yeah, he was hand cared for because he didn't have a mom.
Yes.
They just found these kittens. They, as far as I understood, like the mom clearly had abandoned them or died.
I mean, who knows?
But he was just this small tiny thing, and we were looking for an orange kitten.
That's what, so I answered the ad because they call them tiger cats.
Yeah.
And I wanted a tabby at the time, so I was like, oh my god, they have little stripy tabbies. I want to go get one. And so I showed up, and all they had were like black cats instead, and I was like, I love them though. Like, how can you leave without getting a kitten?
I know.
Like they
the
love
second
them.
they start handing them to you,
it's like, oh, I'm taking one of these. And they were polydactyl. They had the double paws on the front. They had the oven mitt looking, extra thumbs.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we're obviously going home with a kitten. I don't care if it's a tabby anymore. But by complete chance, and then he ended up growing up to be he had
looks like JoJo.
He really didn't have the white spot as a kitten, really.
Yeah.
But then he grew it.
Yeah.
He just happened to get it. He sprouted one as he grew, and now he looks pretty much exactly like JoJo, but he has eyes.
Yeah, big green eyes.
Yeah, little witch cat.
Yeah, when we walked in, like they just handed us each a kitten. Like, here, just find one that you like. So I got handed a kitten, and then you got handed a kitten, and then everyone else, because a ton of people showed up at the same time. Everyone else got handed a kitten, and the kitten I was handed was like a little short hair, very cute.
Yeah.
But then like the kitten you were handed, you were like, okay, I want to try another one. You handed that one to me, and that was Squally.
Yeah, that's right.
So you were handed Squally first,
and I was like,
but there was like a good like 10 kittens there, and you had to like look at them, and I was like, oh no, the second you handed me Squally, he screamed in my face, and I was in love. Like
when I look back on it, first of all, Squally is my first pet.
Yeah.
I've had fish, but I've never had a pet before him. I wasn't allowed one.
They don't quite count the same way. It's like a different
of course.
part.
Yeah. I love fish. We still have a fish, and I love keeping an aquarium. But
it's like a different experience.
It's a totally different experience, and I wasn't allowed to have an actual pet growing up. So Squally we got when we first moved in together. It was like our first big thing that we did together.
Yeah, it was our pet together.
Yeah. So I, in responding to a Craigslist ad, was handed a kitten.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but I want to hold them all first.
Yeah.
How can I decide upon just one kitten? If I pick the first one, who knows what I may be missing out on? But no, truly, they handed us the best one first.
Oh, yeah. It's like, honestly, it was kind of meant to be.
Yeah.
And I was actually really glad that I got to hold him second, because then, like, when I handed off the first kitten, it was just like a little short hair. It was cute. Sure. I think your sister was with us, and I handed him to her.
That's right, yeah.
And then, like, you handed me Squally, and I just, like, the second I held him, I was like, I'm in love with this one. Yeah. And then they handed you another kitten, and that was the one that we kept calling a moo kitten, because it had, like, little cow spots.
That's right.
So that was a girl
one. Moo sister.
So you held her next, and then you handed her to me, and I just held them both, and I was like, I'm not giving up.
We almost went home with two.
Yeah.
I remember. I sometimes
kind of wish I had a little bit.
Sometimes some part of me does slightly regret not having Squally's sister.
Yeah. But, she was cute. She was also long-haired like him.
Yeah. And
she was mostly white.
I think he would have benefited him to have his sister, because he did grow up without a mom, and he was socially so dumb for so long.
Well, he had an older brother out of my cat that I brought into the relationship.
That's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
And that was Furby.
Yeah.
He was half Persian, so and he was the other half Maine Coon, so he was huge.
He was a huge cat. Yeah. But he was so much older.
Yeah.
At the time.
I think he was 12 at the time.
Yeah, he was past the point of caring enough to teach him the ways of being a cat.
Yeah, all he could do was just muster a growl at Squally every once in a while, but that's just an older cat. Sometimes they get like that.
Just the way it is, Squally, and you weren't meant to live with your... He looked up at me like, don't talk to me. I'm so comfortable.
It's okay. I want to get him a kitten eventually.
Yeah, I do too, yeah.
He's already 10, though. It's crazy.
I know.
It would have been 10 years ago this month that we got him.
I know. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
We got him in August.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so crazy.
I know, time flies. He's existed alongside us the entire time we have been making the comic.
Yeah, because we started the comic 2011.
Yep. It was very shortly after we got him, because it was very shortly after we moved in together for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was like...
I moved to Massachusetts in June.
That's right.
And then we got Squally in August.
Yep.
And then we started making Toy in, I think,
February of the next year. Yeah.
February 2011 was when we started making pages. Mm-hmm. So that's crazy.
Or at least I would say we started slightly before then, but that's like the month that we had our first finished page of Toy done.
Yeah,
because
and posted.
We did a little planning beforehand, or a little bit of character design, and made some pages that didn't super
changed our mind on like a couple of pages, and yeah
we originally started the comic at the end.
It was such a bad call.
It was such a bad call for no reason other than like we showed them literally. It would have been like, I guess what would have been in the epilogue.
Yeah.
What we have planned for the epilogue. So we're right now halfway through chapter 19.
Yeah.
We have chapter 20.
Yeah.
And then we have an epilogue, right, for the end. That's what's planned right now. These first two pages would have I guess now that I think about it in these terms, they would have started in the epilogue.
Yeah, that's a really weird thing
to think about. What a bad idea I had.
That's so dumb. I don't even know why we thought it was a good idea.
I don't think it's necessarily... It's not a dumb idea. I don't hate the trope. It just did not have any value for this story. There was no reason for this story to exist that way.
Yeah.
They would have added no value whatsoever.
It made no sense to go that direction.
Yeah.
We just... I don't know. we thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah. I think because I was just, I think, a little too ambitious. Too well, that's, sometimes it's fun to start at the end and then go back. Or maybe I really...
think a lot of writers starting out kind of do that trope a lot. That's one of those things that people make fun of a lot.
That's why I say, I don't think the story... the plot choice is inherently bad, because a lot of people do make fun of it, and it's like, I don't think that's fair. Make fun of it. Yeah, I don't think that's fair.
Because I think it wouldn't have been good for our story.
No, it would have added no value whatsoever.
I think what we ended up doing was a better direction for it.
Sure.
I just think in the end, it's like one of those first writing project mistakes that was made, where it's just like, for some people's story, they want to do that because it seems fun to show people, like, this is what you're gonna
build to, as if it's like you're gonna anticipate this for 10 years. I'm telling you, I really underestimated how much time it was gonna take us to get there, and why on earth would I make someone try to hold in their head the anticipation of this one small, totally valueless scene. Yeah. Like, look what it's gonna... No, don't look. Just follow me. Start at the beginning and follow. Just go. It's fine. Yeah, that was bad. But I would love to find those pages again and put them on the Patreon. Just to giggle at. I think I love looking back at it.
I'll have to see if I can find them.
Yeah, we'll have to dig.
I know I put them into a buried folder that I never wanted to look at.
I love looking at them because it's like, like I said last time, it's baby pictures. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When you show really embarrassing baby pictures to your significant other, like your mom takes them out, whips them out of a photo album somewhere, and they're like, look how dopey they were. Look how silly. And look at this thing. They're shoving a carrot up their nose, and I got a picture of it. It's like,
oh, no.
That's how I feel looking at them, but I get sheer cringy delight. Just pure, I love cringe. Yeah. To me, there's nothing more, I mean, I spent 20% of this episode talking about The Office. I think it's obvious. I love the cringe genre. You know what I mean?
That's our generation.
Yeah, there's nothing funnier to me than just looking back on old art and just being like, wow, I sure was 21 years old and thought I was the hottest shit.
I thought I knew, the perfect recipe to start with.
This is really gonna... Really,
I'm gonna knock so your socks off. Look at these guys drinking coffee.
I'm gonna knock your socks off.
You are not gonna know what hit you when you see these guys drinking coffee. Ooh,
you're gonna be like, "This is compelling literature."
God.
It's tough.
Yeah. And then we went ahead and just made them drinking coffee, but at the beginning.
That's right. I mean, God, I could go for a cup of coffee. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I can always go for a cup of coffee.
It is 3:30 a.m. as we're recording this. We finished this page about, I'd say, an hour and a half ago.
I think it was at least a couple hours ago now. It's a little bit of setup time.
Yeah, for sure. This is sometimes how our sleep schedule kind of slides. Yeah. Where we'll, we tend to keep days that are slightly longer than normal, right? So every day we stay up a couple hours later than the previous day. And so obviously then our sleep shifts forward in time. So let's say if we're on a 26-hour schedule instead of a 24-hour schedule, we're always going to bed slightly later, and then therefore always waking up an hour or two later. And then there are just some times where we're naturally nocturnal, making comics all night, and then, you know what I mean, posting them in the morning. But
yeah, before long we'll be recording this at 8 a.m. and
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely usually how it goes. So so for us this is it's toward the end of our day. Yeah. It's a little odd that 4 a.m. what's going to go on 4 a.m. is toward the end of our day, but I am a little tired, and you know what I mean, and it feels kind of, it's especially when we're nocturnal like this, it feels so much easier to get tired toward the end of the day because it's it's been dark all night, and it's
it's a little bit cooler. We do live in Arizona, so it's a warm season right now.
Yeah, it is. Summer. There's so much benefit to being nocturnal in Arizona during the summer because it is 110 every day, and if you can sleep through some of that heat, then you can save on AC. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You can save on electricity for trying to get the apartment down to a more livable temperature. And then sometimes, not lately, but sometimes you can even open the windows at night and kind of get a little bit of a, but it's been very hot at night here even still. Yeah. So
just sometimes it goes through that, especially as you get to these, we're in the late end of the summer, so usually it's a bit more humid in Arizona. Yeah. So that means warmer nights, which I think it's been done in probably the 80s.
It's also been a little smoky lately.
Yeah, there's a lot of fires, and the smoke coming over from California right now is settling over Tucson. Yeah. And then we have a few fires around here that are also adding to the smoke, so it's been hazy.
It's been hazy and a little warm at night, but yeah, so sometimes it helps to kind of beat the heat by, not that that's why. Yeah. It really is more random than anything. Nice. Yeah.
Benefit.
It does. It's a nice benefit to being on this end of our sleep schedule, but
it makes it a little bit easier too because we do have a dog, so we can't walk her during the day because all the ground outside is way too hot.
The asphalt, yeah.
Yeah. So when we start sliding this direction, we can take her out early in the mornings.
Break a day. And we look super put together. Oh, we got up first thing in the morning at like 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. to bring our dog out to the park, and it's like, no.
We've been awake since the PM.
And also, and this is really like us lazily being like, maybe I guess we'll do it at the end of the day. And it's like, it just happens to make us look really put together. But then there are days where we'll wake up at like 4 p.m. just because it's constantly shifting that way. I'll wake up at 4 p.m. and I'll bring her down, and it's like, okay, there's enough shade that I can at least bring her down to like go potty outside or whatever. And I'll see like the maintenance guy or something, and I'll be like, good morning, and it's like 4 p.m.
Oh yeah.
And I'm in my pajamas.
I'm sure they know.
I'm sure. I oscillate wildly between looking really put together and looking like I'm a disaster gay.
Are we even human anymore?
Just pure disaster gay. Like, truly.
We work from home. Sorry.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? I didn't brush my hair yet. It's just like...
Oh, no.
And they're like, just pay your rent. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do with yourself and your weird life. Please just...
Oh, dear.
So yeah, this might be one of those days actually where, see, it's 3:30 now, where maybe toward the end of our day we can do a nice little walk as the sun comes up and be on that end that feels more put together.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, how nice it's going to be, because yesterday when I saw the sun was coming up, I was looking out at the sunrise, and it's like nice and like beautiful bright red, but that means the smoke.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
What is it? There's a saying. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning.
Yeah.
And that's
like that.
Usually to do with like if there's a lot of humidity in the atmosphere in the morning, that usually is more indicative of a storm, I think. I think that's why it's like that. But
cool.
Yeah. So but now I don't think it's necessarily, that doesn't really apply, but it is more indicative of like it being really hazy and kind of bad environment.
Yeah, so
but it will be nice. It'll be nice to get a little sun and go for a walk and bring Bisbee to the park and get a little exercise.
Speaking of clay object that looks like it's made by someone.
You know, you say that, but I actually, when I colored this, I admired it. I liked it a lot. So
you'll notice that I keep racing in at it and trying to fix it, because I'll notice a kind of wobbly edge and I'm like, oh, fix that.
I think it looks good though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I think I see what you... Now, I don't agree that it was a problem with the vase before, but I could see more what you meant. Right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've done it enough now that like it becomes a little more confident. But
sure.
I think like I'll always feel more critical of it than anyone else will.
I really love Liam in this panel with the the shoulder twitch as he...
Just that moment of when you're like really starting to get deep and thought and relax, and it's just like, oh, there's someone there.
Oh, I gotta socialize. It's just,
I feel that energy.
I put it for the all text. I think it was like, I'm sorry, Matt, it's not you. I just had to like yank my introvert charger out of the wall real quick. Just like, sorry. I didn't mean to cringe at your physical presence. That's not the issue. I promise. It's not you, it's me.
All the times that it's just like family is just like, what? What's wrong?
I know, why me?
Or
What's wrong with me?
They get mad at you in that moment, like, why? What's wrong with me? I'm
What's wrong
sorry
with you?
to bother you. It's like, no, I'm an introvert. I'm sorry.
I would say Liam is like such an exaggerated, dialed up version of me, where it's like if I'm like in my head and thinking about something, and then sorry, somebody talk to me. I have to really quick jolt. What do you want?
Think.
What do you want? I was thinking. But I'm not even an introvert, so I can only imagine.
Oh, I know. Ugh.
It's tough.
It's really tough. It's very difficult to be an introvert.
I liked how this page came out. Yeah. I'm really pleased with it, and I'm excited for Matt, and I'm excited for a little bit of a Matt break before we get into that scene that I'm really excited for.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
I was actually looking at the last time that we were in the office and looking at the stuff that I put behind Eli's desk.
Yes, yeah.
Which I'm really excited to get to explore more.
I also have a tag on the website because we tag our characters. I have a tag on the website that I've been using to track a character that has never appeared in the comic before. And this will be the first time that I use that tag sincerely.
Yeah.
Like, to imply that character is on the page instead of just, like, in the metadata for being talked about.
Yeah.
So,
kind of fun.
I'm really excited about it.
Spoiler alert.
Well, you know. It is what it is.
Oh, yeah. Also, spoiler alert, still problems with drawing clay objects.
I love that. That's I'm gonna think about that probably every time I know color it. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's fun.
I hope that you'll at least pity me anytime you now draw Hero in the future.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, to be fair, those like the very like thin flat hair is very difficult on all ends because it's just like.
Let's write Hubert. No, I'm just kidding. I like him too. He'll be probably in the next few pages.
Yeah, we are gonna write him in.
Prepare.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. All right.
Yeah. We're coming up to the end, so thank you. If you listen to this, thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Super appreciate it. Thank you if you've commented or even just told us that that you had a good time listening to it. Yeah, that's been really nice. It's good connections. It's been a lot of fun. It's been super fun to make it, and I'm really enjoying the whole process, so I will very happily continue. Yeah, I like connecting with people like this. It's really fun and, I don't know, enjoyable. Yeah. So thanks. Thank you so much. Have a good one now. Have a good one.